Ladies and gentlemen, our inductee, Bill Yancy.
Welcome back to Road Trip. You know, if you're driving around on a Friday night in the fall, you can't turn on your car radio without coming across a high school football game. Now, in Marshall County, those Friday night airwaves have belonged to one voice for over 30 years.
Hello, everybody. It's Wildcat Football on the air. This is Bill Yancy along with Bill Moore and Wesley Brock as we get ready to bring you Wildcat Football.
Go for the first down. It's Danny Parker, the quarterback. Here's the gift.
For 33 seasons, that's the way Guntersville Wildcat football broadcasts have started.
He's going all the way for a touchdown.
Bill Yancy of Guntersville is the man who's been on the mic all those years. And you know what?
I can't remember ever missing a Friday night. Thank goodness.
He hasn't. Since calling his first play in 1965, Bill has been on the air without fail for 344 straight Friday nights. Over those 344 games, Bill has seen some nail-biters, but they weren't always on the field.
Sometimes we have had technical difficulties. We've managed to get every game or a portion of every game on the air.
It was here in this now overgrown high school football stadium turned school bus parking lot where Bill got his start in broadcasting. And after 344 straight games, he still says his greatest Guntersville memory happened here in this stadium. September 15th, 1967, Guntersville was taking on Huntsville, and they trailed by 1.76 with 5 seconds left in the game, and it happened in that end zone.
Remaining in the ball game. A field goal attempt by Marshall. Amato will attempt the field goal for the Marshall County High School Wildcats. Good! It's good!
That was Bill's third season, and now, 31 years and another stadium later, he's still the Wildcats' #1 fan and radio man.
Well, I guess you'd probably still call me a homer.
Got it. He's to the 15, to the 10. Run, Andy, to the goal line. Touchdown.
I'm broadcasting games involving sons of players that I broadcast back in the 60s. And it's kind of, you know, it's tradition.
Madison County 7.
Well, you know, time flies, I guess, when you're having fun. So I've had fun. It's been great.
Bill says he might think about hanging up the headphones after he hits number 350, but if Guntersville goes 10-0 this season, well, he's going to have to come back for one more year.
Rebound Guntersville. Stanley Howell with the rebound to Rob Smith. There goes the buzzer. That's it. Guntersville wins. The state 3A champions of Alabama. Guntersville 71. Livingston 48. 2-yard line. And here's Scott giving it off to Chris Baker. He breaks it out of there. He may go. He may go. He may go. He's to midfield to the 45, 40, 35, 20, 10. Touchdown. 98 yards. Chris Baker broke off left tackle for Guntersville, and it's 20-13 the Cats. The goal now moves the chain. Move the chain. Move it. Guntersville High School Wildcat Football. This is Guntersville High School Wildcat Football. And we have Willett back there to receive the punt. Here's the kick away toward Willett, and Willett is going to take it in at the 29, up to the 35, to the 40. Run, Willett, 1, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. Oh, touchdown, Guntersville. Touchdown, Guntersville. Move the chains, move the chains, move the chains.
With a single setback, and you have a man in motion. He fakes to him, he throws to the end zone, intercepted by Kevin Gentle. Gentle's out to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, 25. He may go 30, 35, 40, 45, midfield, 40, 30. 100-yard return plus. Kevin Gentle, touchdown Guntersville. Kept a single set.
Guntersville and Scottsboro about to do battle here at Chorba-Lee Stadium as the 1994 campaign gets underway for Guntersville Cable Channel number 5 and ARAB Channel number 3. We're glad to be bringing it your way in 1994. Bill, let me take this opportunity
Come on in here.
to you a plaque
Wait a
from
minute.
WTWX and WGSV on your 300th broadcast in a row. We're proud of the voice of Wildcat football. Thank you, Bill.
This award was for the 300th broadcast, Mr. Bill Yancy. I guess it's probably the biggest record in high school football broadcasting that can possibly be, and it's presented to the greatest high school football announcer in the state, and there's no doubt about it.
Thanks a lot, Coach. And I noticed they didn't leave out MCHS for you old-timers and GHS on the other side there. And, Coach, this represents about 15 to 1,700 young men that have played during that past 29 years for Guntersville.
A lot of young men and a lot of coaches.
It made it exciting for us. And thank you, Coach.
Well, thank you, Mr. Yancy.
We'll see y'all next week with the Coach Phil Lazenby Show.
As I read another resolution passed by our school board. Whereas in each community, there are individuals who give of their time and talents to inform and entertain the citizens, and whereas in sharing his time, talent, and enthusiasm for the athletic programs of Marshall County High School and Guntersville High School, Mr. Bill Yancy has touched and enriched the lives of all who have heard him on WGSV and WTWX. And whereas throughout Guntersville, Marshall County, and North Alabama, Bill has become known as the voice of the Wildcats and has accurately and enthusiastically broadcast Wildcat basketball and football since 1965. And whereas tonight Bill is broadcasting his 400th consecutive Wildcat football game for Wildcat fans with great sacrifice to himself and his family. Now therefore be it resolved by the Superintendent and the Guntersville City Board of Education that in honor of the loyalty, commitment, and dedication to Wildcat football and their fans, that the press box at Chorley Stadium is hereafter to be known as the Bill Yancy Press Box.
400 games without a miss. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, the good Lord's been good to me, I guess, and so has Guntersville.
Well, you've certainly been good for Guntersville. You're known as the voice of the Wildcats, and we hope you'll be here many more years. Well, Yancy, I put my Auburn math to work last night and tried to figure all this out, and the way I've got it figured, you were about 5.5 when you started broadcasting.
27 years old. Now you guys can do the arithmetic. That's 27.
Bill, we certainly appreciate all you've given for Guntersville High School.
Appreciate you, Doc.
The intro theme music and same announcer voice has started the games for almost 40 years. The voice is that of Morris Lacey Jr., followed by a special introduction for the 2004 Guntersville-Albertville game. The introduction featured Bill's son, Jeff, a Wildcat that played in the 1983 Alabama All-Star football game.
The Guntersville Broadcasting Sports Department presents the excitement and thrills of live sporting events.
Hi, former Wildcat from back in 1982, here to remind you to get out and support the Wildcats. I know my family always has. As a matter of fact, my father will be there tonight for his 400th straight regular season game. That's right, he hasn't missed a game in 40 years. I'm not sure if even Joe Smallwood can claim that, although I know Joe hadn't missed many. There will be one thing missing tonight as we close out the regular season. This will be the first Guntersville-Albertville game that Bill Harris won't be in attendance. But I'm sure old Bill will be listening in up there. I know he would hate to miss one. So tonight, if you cannot be there, tune in and listen to the old Albertville grad call the Wildcats as he has for 40 years. Congratulations, Dad. Go Wildcats.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Wildcat broadcast crew. Coach Raymond Weaver on the left, Daniel Millard on the right, and our inductee, Bill Yancy.
I want to thank God for this opportunity to stand here tonight before you. I want to thank God for my spouse, for some good kids, and Patty, Carol, Jeff, and Maury, and grandchildren, Anna, Elena, and Rebecca. And I want to thank you, Marshall County Sports Hall of Fame Board. My parents taught me hard work and honesty. I've been blessed with a healthy life. I've had very few problems, even like headaches.
But once I would get to a game, even those headaches would go away with the excitement of the game. I want to say thanks to 7 superintendents, 10 principals, and 10 head football coaches for putting up with me for the past 40 years at MCHS, GHS. And I've got some buddies and other buddies not mentioned in our video that I'd like to recognize that helped me over those years. Sidekicks. First one was Lumpy Johnson, the late Lumpy Johnson. Then there was Neil Johnson. Neil was a teacher at Carlisle Park, ARAB graduate. Neil helped me for several years. Seems like he's been retired forever. He's a noted sportsman down there at Parches Cove, but he hunts and fishes all over the world. There was James Durant Dudley, the Church of Christ minister, and together we probably saw the greatest basketball in Marshall County history. Our other sidekicks were Jerry Hasty, Mike Salvage Jones, Danny Vandiver, and Jim Dobbs came with me up here to Albertville to do a game back in the 70s. I'll never forget that Friday night. It's cold and real dark night, and it started snowing in the first quarter. Temperature kept falling. The field was covered by halftime, 2 or 3 inches. It kept on snowing. The wind kept blowing 30 miles an hour. A snow blizzard hit us that night. When we finished the game, it was 19 degrees. You don't forget those occasions. And old Jim Dobbs lasted through that game with me. A couple of high school teenagers I want to mention too. They started out with us on our Friday night scoreboard. We recruited them, and one of them was a little youngster up at Albertville, Greg Bell. He's in about the 11th grade, and he'd report every Friday night on the Albertville Aggies. Well, I'm proud to say Greg today owns his own radio station, and he's the voice of the Scottsboro Wildcats. And there was another little teenager by the name of Ricky Smith down at Boaz. And Ricky would report on the Boaz Pirates every Friday night. It didn't matter if they got beat or if they won big or lost. You could always depend on Ricky would have the report for you. Today, Ricky Smith is employed by the city of Boaz, and Ricky is also the color commentator for the Boaz Pirates on WBSA. Robert Sloman, young teacher administrator down at Douglas. In his early days of Douglas, he would report on the Douglas Eagles. And here is another retiree, and I think he went on, they named a school for him down there too. And Coach Allen pointed out to me, I didn't know that, but the first Douglas game ever broadcast on the radio, we did that. He was telling me about that yesterday. Archie Anderson from over at WREB at ARAB, they didn't have a nighttime station, so Archie was our reporter on Friday nights, and Archie went on to become a past Citizen of the Year at ARAB, and he's been doing the PA for the Arabian Nights forever. You know, our early days started out with segregated teams, but soon we were integrated, and this was before we had our FM station in Gunnersville. Albertville had one all along, but we were late coming on with ours. So we taped and played our games back on Saturday morning. And although I was broadcasting at the time, it was almost 40 years later that Jody Chorba told me about the first football practice of an integrated team. The young, lanky, black lad coming up to the field house there on the hill at Gunnersville. Jody says, Bill, I'll never forget that scene. Said all of us white guys were crowded in the door of the field house and in the windows, and said, there comes this young black walking slowly, trotting up that hill. The young black kid was about to make history. Johnny Butch Looney became Marshall County's first black star athlete following integration, outstanding in both football and basketball. Now I could sense the respect that Jody had for that young man's courage that day and that event in Marshall County sports history. In those early days, the early years, there was a trip down to Walter Welborn in Anniston for a Friday night game. That week, Anniston had been in the news because of the demonstrations and the civil rights demonstrations and the Ku Klux Klan activity. And I'm thinking there was so much going on then that our cheerleaders and band didn't make that trip. I know our fans stayed away. It was a real tense situation, but the Gunnersville group was made up of the broadcast crew, the team and the coaches, and there were just a very few parrots there. But thankfully the game was played without incident. I don't think we had a wrap-up show that night because we hurried up and hurried back to Gunnersville. What about Coach Jackie Throwers coaching the Gunnersville Wildcats to their first ever state basketball tournament with a packed Coliseum down at Alabama, 15,000 or whatever it held. You had Gunnersville, Colbert County playing the first game, Parker and Hayes in the second game, like a 5A and a 6A championship game. Gunnersville lost in the championship game to Leon Douglas and Colbert County. And then the great teams at Gunnersville under Coach Larry Windsor. Folks, don't ever forget people like Jack Wells, an Aggie player, and all the work he did with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And thanks to T.J. Carnes for the book Out of the Sand. Thanks for the writings of Larry Smith and the late Catherine Duncan, helping preserve Marshall County's sports history. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to become friends with Travis Hunt and J.B. Davis. There's the memory of a teenage boy, the memory of this teenage boy listening to the Alabama games on the radio with Albertville's Travis Hunt as captain. And I'll never forget the moment in 2002 when J.B. Davis viewed the tape of his 1956 80-yard punt return to beat Alabama at Legion Field. Just the two of us there previewing his tape before his induction into the Hall of Fame, and tears flowed down the old Georgia Bulldog's face as he said, "Bill, the last time I saw that film was 1956. I'm thankful for the past, but as Charles Kettering put it, my interest is in the future because I'm going to spend the rest of my life at it." Thank you very much. I accept your induction into the Hall of Fame.